So Donald Trump's been posting over and over again, kill FISA, kill FISA. And here's one post, for example. Trump goes, kill FISA. It was illegally used against me and many others. They spied on my campaign. DJT. And then, of course, all of the MAGA Republicans in the House of Representatives who take their orders from him parroted it. So there you have Jim Jordan, Lauren Boebert, Andy Biggs, Dan Bishop, Matt Rosendale, hashtag FISA, get a warrant, and they all talk about killing FISA, taking their orders from Donald Trump. Let me explain what's happening, how dangerous this is. But first, with everything Donald Trump, let me point out the hypocrisy. Back on January 19th of 2018, there's a tweet for everything Donald Trump posted, again, from 2018, just signed 702 bill to reauthorize foreign intelligence collection. This is not the same FISA law that was so wrongly abused during the election. I will always do the right thing for our country and put the safety of the American people first. And so it is Section 702 authorization that is currently up for renewal right now. And Donald Trump's post to kill FISA was an order to the MAGA Republicans in the House of Representatives to stop the renewal, to stop the reauthorization of Section 702 of FISA, which is something that Donald Trump pushed through in 2018 and is an important intelligence tool. Let me just explain how dangerous it is what these MAGA Republicans are doing. Let me just also explain why what Donald Trump is saying, like everything he does, is just a complete and utter lie, not to mention the hypocrisy. Now, just to be clear about the terminology here, when we talk about FISA, we're talking about the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act. This was a law that was passed in 1978 that was actually in response to abuses in the intelligence community that people saw during the Nixon administration, where the American government was spying on its own people. And Richard Nixon was doing that, and all of these widespread abuses. So the idea behind FISA was actually to create a system that was consistent with Supreme Court precedent and the Fourth Amendment of the United States Constitution, and to actually create a FISA court, an FAIC, which is currently comprised of various federal judges, around 11 Article 3 judges. So these are federal judges. They're appointed by the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. They have to review information provided by the Intelligence Committee. And ultimately, this court, an FISC, issues an order, which is something similar to a warrant. It's a little bit different from, but the same thing, to engage in a wiretap. Now, there are two different kind of key sections for purposes of this video, without doing a deeper dive into FISA, that we should be discussing. The first is Title I of the Foreign Intelligence Services Act, and the other is Section 702. Section 702 renewal and authorization is what the MAGA Republicans are killing right now, even though Donald Trump, you saw in the post, was bragging about the reauthorization of it in 2018. It's back up for reauthorization in 2024. So Title I is controversial because it involves basically kind of wiretaps and intelligence gathering on U.S. persons who you have to show and make a probable cause determination. And there are some heightened standards here because it's U.S. people, that they're basically spying, that there are U.S. citizens, people in the United States who are spying for foreign adversaries against the United States. And so if you want to be able to institute, a wiretap and have surveillance on their cell phones, on their computers, you have to go to a special court. You have to present evidence and data linking a specific individual to foreign intelligence and to our adversaries or people who are trying to cause harm, and then the intelligence community can conduct a wiretap and conduct surveillance on U.S. persons. That's not what the issue is here. Title I is not the issue of reauthorization right now. The issue for reauthorization that the MAGA Republicans are preventing and killing is actually Section 702, which deals with non-U.S. persons. And it allows our intelligence agency to authorize and institute surveillance abroad, not here in the United States. Now, it should be noted that there could be what's called kind of an incidental pickup, if you will, of intelligence where, and that would happen in kind of very limited circumstances, if you had authorized surveillance on, let's say, adversaries in Putin's regime or the CCP or Iran or North Korea or a foreign adversary, and they were communicating with somebody in the United States, then that would be picked up. Because unlike Title I, which is actually directed at a specific U.S. person, which then you have to show these heightened standards that basically the U.S. person's acting as a spy against the United States for a foreign adversary or for a foreign country that's trying to harm us. Section 702 is about kind of categories of foreign influence. And so you could potentially pick up, because if a foreign adversary happens to be talking to somebody in the U.S., you could be picking up that intelligence, but it is in no way actually directed at U.S. persons at all. The whole thing about 702 is non-U.S. persons, foreign adversaries, and categories of communications where foreign adversaries, terrorist groups are trying to cause harm to us. So Title I versus Section 702, different things. And so what all these MAGA Republicans are killing right now is the Section 702 that deals with basically stopping terrorist attacks on the United States, that deals with stopping foreign adversaries from spying on the U.S. and causing harm to the United States. That's what this is about. 702, not Title I. But this shouldn't shock us that this is just who the MAGA Republicans have become. This is what Jay in Kyiv writes. He goes, probably no coincidence that the more a congressman is suspected of working for Russian intelligence, the more adverse they are to letting U.S. intelligence do their job in rooting out those traitors working for Russian intelligence. MAGA is Russia. Then Malcolm Nance writes, FISA issues the warrant, you effing doofuses. And he's right to some extent there. There's a FISA court, an FISC, that is responsible for hearing the evidence, and then they issue an order, which is like a warrant after there is a threshold showing that is made. 1 in 5 Americans have learn a new language on their bucket list. If that's you, make 2024 the year you finally check it off the list with Babbel. Be a better you in 2024 with Babbel, the science-backed language learning app that actually works. Don't pay hundreds of dollars for private tutors or waste hours on apps that don't really help you speak the language. Babbel's quick 10-minute lessons are handcrafted by over 200 language experts to help you start speaking a new language in as little as 3 weeks. Babbel's designed by real people for real conversations. Babbel's tips and tools are approachable, accessible, rooted in real-life situations, and delivered with conversation-based teaching, so you're ready to practice what you've learned in the real world. Babbel's convenient courses have helped me learn real-life conversation skills in a different language. It's so easy to learn how to order food, ask for directions, speak to merchants without having to consult language apps while on vacation. Plus, Babbel's speech recognition technology helps you to improve your pronunciation and accent. Studies from Yale, Michigan State University, and others continue to prove Babbel is better. One study found that using Babbel for 15 hours is equivalent to a full semester at college. Babbel has over 16 million subscriptions sold, plus All of Babbel's 14 award-winning language courses are backed by their 20-day money-back guarantee. Here's a special limited-time deal for our listeners. Right now, get up to 60% off your Babbel subscription, but it's only for our listeners at babbel.com/Meidas. So get up to 60% off at babbel.com/Meidas, and that's spelled BABBEL.com/Meidas, MEIDAS. Rules and restrictions may apply. And by the way, what I want to be clear about too is I think that there is some things that are, I want to protect the privacy of Americans. And do I think that there can and potentially should be some reforms as it relates to specifically the Title I of FISA and how authorization is given and how probable cause determinations are made to seek surveillance on specific U.S. persons? Yeah. 702's non-U.S. persons. Let me share with you what Sean Casten has to say. For Congressmember Casten, he goes, FISA is a bill that was created in the aftermath of 9/11 to allow our intelligence agencies to better monitor communications from bad guys, even if they are communicating on new communication networks and or with U.S. nationals. It was in place through the Trump administration. That's mostly right. It was authorized in 78, and then Section 702 came out of post 9/11. So it's somewhat right. As with any surveillance bill, there are balances between U.S. civil liberties to be factored in, and we have rules to protect. This is a conversation one could have, but that's not the point of today's clown-o-rama. The data we are talking about here is information that our adversaries already have. Suppose two terrorists are plotting an attack on the U.S. in a foreign country, and a U.S. national is on the same chat thread. Do you want the U.S. to have that intel? I sure do. But today was about process. Our Intel and Judiciary committees were working through rules and procedures to balance all those equities, and then a whole bunch of Republicans voted against a rule, a procedural motion that must pass in order for floor debate and votes to start. Rules didn't fail when Democrats were in charge because it is moronic and nihilistic to vote against a rule introduced by your own party. But in this Congress, ours vote against their party's rules all the time. Morons and nihilists aplenty, I guess. They voted no because Trump tweeted at them. Yeah, more or less. Not only morons and nihilists, but also cowards who are afraid to alienate a twice impeached rapist seditionist who's going to trial next week for campaign finance violations for trying to hide adultery. And make no mistake, when leadership loses that many of their own members, it is not a surprise. And yet now the House doesn't know what we're doing because the calendar, which was predicated on the debate and vote on that bill this week, is frozen. So if you'd like our intelligence agencies to work, to have Congress debate and craft legislation that balances public safety and civil liberties, to have Congress work this week, too bad for you, because Trump tweeted and moronic nihilistic cowards jumped, and a speaker with no prior leadership experience acted like a guy who's new at his job. It's so offensive and disrespectful to the institution, to the country, and all those who serve. So then the MAGA Republicans did what Trump said. They killed the rule. They stopped it from even coming to the floor so there could be even debate, and that there could be amendments offered, and there could be, discussions about, if there are concerns about balancing certain priorities and concerns. No, they just said, kill the rule. We're not doing anything here, even though you saw what Trump did in 2018. And again, who does this help? This helps Russia. This helps terrorists. This helps Iran. But this is what they're doing with everything, right? This is what the MAGA Republicans are doing with everything. Border, they want to create more chaos, right? They want to not fund the government. They did not want to support a bipartisan border deal. Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans quite literally want to cause us harm. They want to cause you harm because they think in chaos and fear and panic, and if bad things happen here, that's a winning issue for them if Americans get hurt. How callous, how cruel, how stupid, how anti-American. But I hope I broke that down for you in a way that is kind of easy to understand when you hear about FISA this, FISA that. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 3 million subscribers together. Thanks for watching.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Midas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.